He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
If the prices are higher, here's the real crucial thing. Are wages going up really quick?
No.
No, they are not going up really quick.
Someone's going to be like, well, it just went up to like $17 minimum wage or something like that.
Please.
But yeah, like what is that going to get you? It's in this economy, nowhere.
So to your point, with minimum wage goes up 20 cents, big whoop. But to your point, there's not that difficulty in getting a mortgage, which stems from very high prices, very big mortgages, hard to save, high rents, making it harder to save. And then you've got, these are stress test bank restrictions. So here's what I can tell you that is the sign to me that mortgages are hard to get and might be getting harder. There's so many companies, even in this kind of difficult time in the real estate, there's still a lot of companies interested in getting in the alternative lending business because all these rules impact on banks, right?
Yeah.
And to a lesser extent, credit unions, which are provincially regulated. But all this tightening is making it harder for you to get a mortgage from a bank. But if you really, really, really want a mortgage, you just might go somewhere else.
Yeah, there's alternative and privates.
And
it's always an option.
It continues to grow. It had a little stutter back in 23. Like in 23, there was moments of time in late 2022. There's moments of time when private money was getting a little wobbly and it was harder to get. It's back, baby. And I know. So there's the lesson is, if people think that alternative lending is such a good business, what does alternative lending mean? It means it's just outside of these rules. Okay, so it's not totally outside the rules, but it's got relaxed rules. And it's easier to get a mortgage at a higher rate and fees and everything else. Ideally, you should get a bank mortgage. In the perfect world, get a bank mortgage, okay? But if that becomes hard, there's these other more expensive operations. So in business, if something's growing,
you're going to hop on that trend.
and the fact that more companies are interested and are pursuing it, again, tells me, they think it's going to get harder to get a bank mortgage, okay? And the people are still coming. They're talking about cutting back on immigration. That'll probably happen. But, hey, we got 2 million showed up, right?
They're still here.
It's still here. Well, some might be going back. Temporary workers might be going back. But at the end of the day, housing crisis, hard to get a mortgage. I believe that you believe what you see in business when people are actually doing it.
Yeah.
So we got more people interested in alternative mortgages. To me, that proves. Hopefully they won't end up like Claire Drage and people lose all their money. But at the end of the day, that proves to me that it's a growth opportunity. Business people don't throw money at things that don't work.
They don't.
They make it trip. Like we'll do a show one day about how people buying condos pre-construction maybe looks like the tulip bubble in Holland. But I mean, it's so people can make mistakes. But when businesses see an opportunity and they move into it, that tells me here's the problem. Really, what the problem is that people depend on banks. Banks, the big banks in Canada still do 85% of all transactions, one way or the other. Sometimes they're in the background. Sometimes they're supplying money to other companies, but it's their money, okay? And there's an argument, is there 6 big banks or 5 big banks? But let's just pretend there's 5 big banks, okay, for the sake of argument. Sorry, National Bank, don't get mad at me. Don't cause revenge on me, but 5 big banks, okay? And the government's squeezing them to do less mortgage business or do tighter mortgage business. And again, not in the last year, but they have in the past. And they may again. So 5 is what's called an oligarchy. Okay, it's a small group of people controlling the wealth. It's a small group of companies controlling the wealth. It's not a monopoly, but it's 5. It's just 5, okay? So when you, as a government, through the regulator, OSFI, when you, through the bank regulators, try to make the banks super select and super duper perfect in their loans and their mortgages, you got to ask the question, is that what a government should be doing? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying for banks to loosen up, but there's a point where it's so tight.
Yeah.
And you don't let new banks start, and there's no foreign banks coming in. In fact, foreign banks are leaving. Like HSBC just got bought up by RBC. If you've got this very low competition environment, you got to ask, is that fair to the public, right? Is that fair? So
depends on who they have in mind.
Well, if it's really hard to get a mortgage to push you to use an alternative lender, I wonder how fair that is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, if you really, you know, under certain rational, like in the States, you could have got a mortgage from a big bank, but not in Canada because of extra rules. Okay. Is the States crazy and Canada's the only smart one? Now, we're going to get comments that say, oh yeah, in 2008, States went crazy. Okay. Agreed. Not for the reasons you might think, but agreed. But that was a long fucking time ago now. Okay.
Yeah, very long time ago.
And, you know, we can't dine out on that forever and say Canadian banks have to be super strict, because if there's only 5 of them, how right is that?
Yeah.
You know, how there's a balance. We got to set a balance.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.